appears we have enough members here to get started. Welcome to the Senate Committee on Education and Health. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Today we have 65 bills on our docket. 65. And this is the last meeting of this committee. Each of the bills on the docket today fall into 4 different categories. 1, bills that pass unanimously from the House, bills that are identical to Senate bills that are similar to Senate bills, and bills that were heard in a subject matter subcommittee. We will first consider bills that pass unanimously from the House in a block. Our staff will read the bill number, patron, and the title of each bill in the block. Committee members may request to remove any bill from the block. Patrons may request to have a bill removed from the block for the purpose of a substitute or amendment. Bills removed from the block will have a hearing of 3 minutes. Of public comment will be permitted per side.
Madam Chair.
I'm not done yet. I'll give it to you in just a moment. Next, we will consider bills that are identical and similar to Senate bills we've already considered. Our staff will review each bill and we will vote on them individually. We will only hear from patrons on similar bills if it is absolutely necessary. Finally, we will hear reports from our subcommittee chairs. Each of these bills had the opportunity for public comment, and no additional public comment will be permitted. Now, Senator Peake.
Madam Chair, thank you. There's a bill that came over from the House 99 to nothing, but then died in subcommittee. Will it be just handled in the subcommittee report? Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, now, we will begin with the bills that were passed unanimously from the House in a block.
The first bill in the unanimous block is HB 1426, patroned by Delegate Tata, Board of Medicine, Continuing Education, Human Trafficking.
The next bill that passed unanimously is House Bill 1762, patroned by Delegate Reed, School Boards Teacher Reengagement Program established.
Next is HB 1814, patroned by Delegate Waxman. He did request that this bill be stricken, so we can remove it from the block for that purpose.
Next is HB 1870, patroned by Delegate Helmer, Institutions of Higher Education, Immunity from Disciplinary Action in Certain Cases Involving a Good Faith Report of an Act of Sexual Violence. Next is HB 1884, patroned by Delegate Wampler, Standards of Learning Assessment Revision Work Group, Consideration of Effectiveness of Assessments for Students with Disabilities.
Next is HB 1900, patroned by Delegate Hope, Provisional Licenses Issued to Providers of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, Notice Requirement, Waiver of Appeal Right by Consent Agreement. Next is HB 1945, patroned by Delegate Durant, Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, Data Reporting on Children and Adolescents, Reporting Requirements. Next is HB 2033, patroned by Delegate Sewell, Audiology and Speech Language Pathology Interstate Compact.
Next is HB 2137, patroned by Delegate Delaney, School Boards Division-Wide Literacy Plans, Contents Posting.
Next is HB 2158, patroned by Delegate Ferris, Department of Medical Assistance Services, Compliance with Certain Federal Requirements, Work Group Report. Next is HB 2172, patroned by Delegate Sickles, Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Definitions, Mobility Impaired Person. I believe we skipped HB 2139, patroned by Delegate Delaney, Prescription Refills, Insulin, Authority of Pharmacists to Refill Prescriptions. Next is HB 2211, patroned by Delegate Tran, Graduates of Foreign Nursing Education Programs, Licensure Requirements. Next is HB 2222, patroned by Delegate Hayes, Surgical Technologists and Surgical Assistants.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Donovan,
Could that bill come out of the block, please?
House Bill 2222 will come out of the block.
Next is HB 2342, patroned by Delegate Ellen Campbell. Background checks, services for children in developmental services, adult substance abuse, and mental health services. And then last in this block is HB 2374, patroned by Delegate Davis, prescriptions, telemedicine, refusal to fill prescription from telemedicine provider, prohibition. So you want to
Thank you. Committee members, did any of you want to pull any other bill from the block? We have one bill, and that's 1814 that's stricken.
Madam Chair,
And
could House Bill 1900 be pulled out of the block for purpose of amendment?
1900? 1900 is out of the block for the purpose of an amendment. Are there others? You've heard the bill number and the patrons, and we're going to consider those in a block. All in favor of moving those bills to be reported, please vote electronically.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bills in a block will be reported. Now we will go back to, we have House Bill 1814 is stricken.
That's it.
All in favor of having House Bill 1814 stricken from the docket, please say, or please vote electronically.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, noes 0. The bill is stricken. Now we will go to House Bill 1900, taking them in order. Delegate Hope?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I have the clerk to report an amendment.
Yes.
Madam Chair, the amendment is on line 25 after the word services. Insert to ensure that providers are notified properly, the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services and the Department of Medical Assistance Services shall develop a joint agency protocol that requires the Department of Medical Assistance Services to collaborate and consult with the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services prior to imposing limitations on such provider that could lead to restrictions on reimbursement.
Any questions by members of the committee?
Madam Chair, just to clarify, this language was requested.
Could you speak into the mic?
Was a request to the administration, and it just establishes a joint agency protocol to put this bill together.
Could I get a motion on the amendment? It's been moved and properly second that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. It's agreed to. Now we will vote on the bill. Can I get a motion, please? It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported as amendment. All in favor, please vote aye or nay on electronic voting. You're done.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Say again. I think I will take up Delegate Hayes's bill, and that's House Bill 2222. You're trying to get a quorum? That'd be great. Okay, thank you. Delegate Hayes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. You have before you House Bill 2222. And what this will do is allow for the practice of surgical technologists and surgical assistants for a period of 6 months beyond them completing a certified accredited program that has gone through the scrutiny of our State Board of Medicine. And that's all we're asking, that we allow for those individuals to come to the space of medical practice to assist in that short period of time of 6 months. If by chance they happen to hear that they have failed their examination, then they cannot practice. Or if it's 6 months, they cannot practice beyond that time. We've done that in the past with other professions, most recently with the respiratory therapists last year, and we're asking for that same approval for surgical assistants and surgical technologists for this year. It's narrowly tailored for that purpose and that purpose only.
Okay, you've heard the explanation by Delegate Hayes on House Bill 2222. Any questions of the members of the committee?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And Delegate Hayes and I talked about this a little bit, and I've been trying to work on it in the midst of session. But there's a problem that's come to my attention. I work with a nurse who is a surgical technician, has been doing it for 20 years. And I guess based upon this same section of code as it went through last year, what has happened is that a portion of the workforce has been excluded from the workforce because of some of the licensure and credentialing language that we put in with deadlines on grandfathering. And I'm really concerned because the healthcare workforce is under such duress. And so I'm hoping that there's a way that we can use this opportunity to make it easier for people that are highly skilled to continue to work in the workforce. And so I know we talked about it. What is the challenge with this? We talked about the enactment clause. We talked about the certification agency. What is it that we can do to try and make this work so that we are really short-staffed in the ORs, and we can't afford, literally, this nurse has been sent home and said she cannot work anymore because of this licensure language that we put in.
So, Madam Chair, Senator Donovan, there have been other situations where people have approached me during this session, and I have had conversations with those folks and let them know that we weren't interested in modifying the bill, and they're continuing to persist and try to change the bill. What I've advised those folks to do is to do the same process that everyone else has, which is to go through the process of getting approved nationally through the State Board of Medicine, and that will allow for those certifications. In the incident, Madam Chair, Senator Donovan, of your specific situation, we've agreed to have some folks work along with that individual, and they've promised that they will assist them in trying to get themselves in a position that they can take the exam, and then they'll be able to practice.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Donovan.
I'm curious as I look at this, having been on the Board of Medicine and credentialing and licensing people, it seems unusual to have cited only one credentialing agency. And so I don't know if there's anybody from DHP that can talk about that, but I want to make sure that we have open doors. Licensure can be used as an obstruction to highly qualified people participating in the workforce. So is there anybody from DHP here, Madam Chairman, that can speak to that? Or?
And while we're waiting, Madam Chair, could I just simply say that the credentialing that does go through the State Board of Medicine, I'm sure we all know that there's a process to go through that, to go through the rigor and the scrutiny, and to have the full faith of the Commonwealth say that these credentialing agencies are approved. And that's a process. It's not to become a burden on any individual, but it is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the constituents, the people that we serve here at the Commonwealth, to make sure that they go through that process. And any accrediting body can go through that process.
Okay.
Any.
I think you have someone here who wants to speak in favor.
Madam Chairman and Senator Donovan, Aaron Barrett on behalf of the Department of Health Professions and the Board of Medicine just approached the podium to answer Senator Donovan's question. Yes, there are occasionally we have in code named certification entities. Sometimes one is named, sometimes more are named. However, when they are named as they are in this portion of the code, the Board of Medicine has no discretion to certify individuals who go through another credentialing organization.
I see.
Which has caused the issue.
Madam Chairman, may I ask a question of the
Senator
speaker?
Donovan, we're down to a minute and a half.
So there are other credentialing agencies that would be approved by the board if the language in the code were not written as it is.
The board would at least have the discretion to look at it. They have not looked at these credentialing agencies, and so I cannot speak to them, Senator Donovan, but they could do it.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Donovan?
Senator Barker.
Senator Barker.
Madam Chair, just to add a little bit of information, I've had similar legislation that was starting the process of getting a licensure, or getting towards licensure of surgical assistants and surgical technologists. And when we had the bill through probably 8 or 9 years ago, what we found was that there were 3 entities that were providing certifications of these types of things. 2 clearly were legitimate, 1 clearly was not legitimate, and we at that time then placed the names of those 2 in the code. And so there is, or there at least was at that time, more than 1 legitimate entity that would do
Okay.
the process.
Senator Donovan, you got 1 minute.
Okay, I won't do it, but the point is that there are different pathways to credentialing, and one is also grandfather. And that, part of the code now limits grandfathering. If you didn't apply for grandfathering by a certain date, these are people who have 20 years of experience that are highly skilled. So, Madam Chairman, I would like to propose an amendment that we actually turn this over to the Board of Medicine to decide the appropriate credentialing processes so that we can make sure that any agency or process by which they consider it to be safe for the state.
I'm seeing that the patron is not agreeing that that's a friendly amendment. Is there someone who wants to have another statement on this?
Madam Chairman, Hunter Jamerson for the National Surgical Assistants Association and the Association of Surgical Technologists. Certainly appreciative of Senator Donovan's points. It was very important to us to ensure that folks who were on the job at the time of licensure and certification were able to maintain their ability to work. That grandfathering provision has been extended twice. I think there's been 2.5 years of opportunity to enroll, and at this point, we think the board has given the proper advisement as to the respective credentialing. There is a 185-page report on all of the available credentials. You all have codified what was recommended by the Board of Medicine.
Thank you. Okay, Senator Donovan has proposed an amendment, and I can see that that doesn't appear to be a friendly amendment to the patron. So I think we need to have a vote on the amendment,
Yes, ma'am.
okay? You all have heard the amendment as proposed by, oh, I'm sorry, did you want to speak? Senator Donovan's amendment.
My amendment, just to open up the licensing process and put the board in control of it instead of us deciding in code which agency or grandfathering is appropriate.
You've heard the amendment proposed by Senator Donovan. All in favor of that amendment? Please say yea or nay. Yay. No. But the ayes have it. Oh, call for the no, please? No. I want to do this electronically so we'll know exactly what we're dealing with here. So all in favor of the amendment, designate aye on the voting electronically and nay accordingly.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7. The amendment is adopted. It has been moved and properly second that House Bill 2222 be reported as amended. Delegate Hayes.
Thank you, Senator. It was my hope that this would come in the form of a separate bill, and I would have been more than happy to work with them for next session to deal with whatever it is that how they're trying to be added.
Thank you.
That was the hope. So thank you for your consideration, Madam Chair,
You're welcome.
members of the committee. Did we report the bill?
Oh, we did not. The motion is that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically your preference.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill will be reported as amended. Now, Madam Attorney?
Yes, Madam Chair, the next block is bills which passed unanimously from the House and were requested by Finance. The first bill in this block is HB 1820, patroned by Delegate Avoli, Virtual School Programs, Virtual Through-Year Growth Assessment Administration. And I believe the delegate requested it be removed from the block.
And that's House Bill 1820? You requesting that it be removed from the block?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
For purpose of amendment, move the amendment.
Go right ahead.
What does the amendment do?
Do you have an amendment that you need to distribute? Thank you.
I have no idea, I've never seen it before.
Okay, you want to go on and start telling us what the amendment does?
Yes, ma'am. The substitute we have here today, some suggest from the Department of Education. This includes clarifying some of the technology security features, requiring that a parent sign the VDOE test security agreement as part of the requirement for doing a growth assessment test online, and giving the department until January 2024 to develop guidelines for implementing the provisions of HB 820. Madam Chair, I am aware of no opposition to this legislation.
Well, first of all, let's get a motion on the amendment. It's been moved and properly second that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor say aye.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman.
Madam Chair, just a quick question. I read your original bill, but does anything in this allow this activity to take place for standards of learning tests?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Only assessment.
Only assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions by members of the committee? Motion, please. Yes, everything in this block is going to go to finance by the request of the chair. All in favor of reporting the bill and re-referring to finance with the substitute, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill will be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance with the substitute. Madam Attorney?
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 2192, patroned by Delegate Razul, Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services, Catawba Hospital, Substance Abuse Treatment and Recovery Services. And that is the last bill in the finance block.
Okay. Okay, in the finance block. It's been moved and properly second that the bills in the finance block be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate it electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bills in that block will be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. Next group of bills are bills of Madam Attorney.
Yes, next are our identical bills. First is HB 1450, patroned by Delegate Orrock. That bill is identical to SB 798, patroned by Senator Hashmi. That bill went to Rehab and Social Services and passed 13-0 and then 38-0 out of the Senate.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of reporting the bill and re-referring to Senate Finance. All in favor of reporting the bill, please designate electronically.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill will be reported. Madam Attorney.
Next is HB 1465, patroned by Delegate Krizek. Let's see. It's identical to SB 836, patroned by Senator Reeves. That bill went to general laws and passed 15-0, and then reported out of the Senate 39-0.
Motion, please. It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate yea or nay electronically.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill will be reported. Madam Attorney.
Next is HB 1624, patroned by Delegate Ballard. It is identical to SB 1071, patroned by Senator Bell. That bill also went to general laws and then passed out of the Senate 39-0.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Madam Attorney.
Next is HB 1681, patroned by Delegate Robinson. It is identical to SB 1457, patroned by Senator Lewis. That bill reported out of this committee on a vote of 15-0.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Madam Attorney?
Next is HB 1711, patroned by Delegate Bell. It is identical to Senator Newman's SB 1070. That bill was passed by indefinitely by this committee on a vote of 10 to 5.
Senator Newman?
Well, I mean,
Somebody
I-
please make a motion to PPI.
I'll- there you go.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically. Was I supposed to do it that way? I don't know.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5, the bill will be passed by indefinitely.
Next is HB 1754, patroned by Delegate Head. It is identical to SB 1119, patroned by Senator Stewart. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 15 to 0.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor of that bill being reported, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill is reported. Madam Clerk, Madam Attorney.
Next is HB 1833, patroned by Delegate Walker. It is identical to SB 1279, patroned by Senator Boysko. That bill went to general laws and passed 15 to 0, and then 39 to 0 out of the Senate.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, Madam Attorney.
Next is HB 1946, patroned by Delegate Waxman. It is identical to SB 1406, patroned by Senator Vogel. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 15 to 0.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill will be reported. Madam Attorney.
Next is HB 1963, patroned by Delegate Runyon. It is identical to SB 945, patroned by Senator Suderline. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 15 to 0, and it has been requested by Finance.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill will be reported and re-referred. Madam Attorney.
Next is HB 2173, patroned by Delegate Sickles. It is identical to SB 1016, patroned by Senator Suderline. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 14 to 0.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill will be reported.
Next is HB 2313, patroned by Delegate Head. It is identical to SB 1132, patroned by Senator Peake. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 15 to 0.
Been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill will be reported. Madam Attorney.
The last bill in the identical block is HB 2364, patroned by Delegate Waxman. It is identical to SB 894, patroned by Senator Newman. That bill reported out of this committee on a vote of 15 to 0.
Move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill will be reported. That completes that block. Now back to you, Madam Attorney.
Madam Chair, next we have bills that are similar to Senate bills. The first bill in this block is HB 1387, patroned by Delegate Greenhow. This bill is similar to SB 1186, patroned by Senator Reeves, which was passed by indefinitely in Education and Health on a vote of 10 to 5. There are several minor technical differences between these two bills. There is one substantive difference, being that HB 1387 includes provisions relating to requirements for public schools to participate with sports teams sponsored by private schools, and for public institutions of higher education to participate against sports or teams sponsored by private institutions of higher education.
Madam Chair.
Senator Newman.
Could the patron, I guess, just be able to quickly address the major difference?
Very quickly, the major differences as requested by one of our members.
There's a substitution. Sorry, Madam Chair, there's a substitution.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Noes have the same right. Okay. Please proceed.
Yes, the purpose of the substitution is to clarify the intent is not to restrict private schools from league participation, but only applies to specific competitions which would not protect our girls from competing against biological males. That's the
the major
substitution.
difference. Okay, the substitute. Okay, you've heard a clarification of the substitute. All in favor, please say, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Did we adopt the substitute? Yeah, okay, we adopted the substitute. Okay, now, you've heard the major difference between the bill and the substitute.
Madam Chair,
Senator Hashim.
move to pass by indefinitely as we did with Senator Reeves' bill.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, next is HB 1689, also patroned by Delegate Greenhalgh. It's similar to SB 925, patroned by Senator Cosgrove. That bill was passed by indefinitely in this committee on a vote of 13-2. I can state the differences or defer to Delegate Greenhalgh.
Did she leave? Oh, no, she's here, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. 1689 requires medical facilities to allow patients to receive visits from their rabbi, priest, minister, clergy, unless the facility can demonstrate it cannot accommodate without undue hardship. Facilities may not restrict the frequency or duration of those visits and may not require that they be virtual. And if protocol limits the number of visitors to a patient's room, the clergy will not count towards that number. However, the medical facilities are also protected in this bill. Hospitals are given leeway to follow the guidance from the CDC, and it specifically allows them to restrict visits from clergy who fail a health screening or test positive for a communicable disease. And the bill does not allow for civil action against a facility for violation of this subsection. And I say that because that's still in the summary. I wanted to make sure y'all understood that had been taken out.
Okay, you've heard the clarification.
Madam Chair. Peterson.
Peterson first.
Senator Peterson and then Senator Donovan.
Yes, and I think we had a pretty lengthy hearing in my subcommittee on this.
Yes.
And I believe that it was the opinion of the medical facilities and nursing homes that they already have to comply with federal law, which has pretty comprehensive regulations. And by adding this, it would, in some cases, might reduce, detract, confuse. And I think we were sympathetic to the objective. We all were. And yet we felt like by adding this sort of overlapping layer, it actually might actually make things almost more difficult for people to visit. So that was the reason why we PBI'd from our subcommittee.
Thank you, Senator Peterson. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just to speak to that, because I did support PBI of that earlier bill for those exact reasons, but this bill does not do the things that that bill did that were objectionable. It allows compliance with CDC and with state regulations, and it also has removed the civil action clause. And so this bill actually, I'm curious if there's anybody that still objects to it, because those were the complaints we heard in committee, and they seem to be resolved in this version of the bill.
Well, we're definitely not going to take any more testimony, so we're at that point where we're going to entertain a motion. Did I get another motion? I don't have a second on that. Oh, you did have a second? Okay. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor of that?
Madam Chair,
Senator Heisman?
substitute motion that it be passed by indefinitely.
Substitute motion takes precedence. The motion is that, and it's been seconded, that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is
Thank
passed
you, Madam
by
Chair,
indefinitely.
members.
You're welcome. Madam Attorney?
Madam Chair, the next bill is HB 1726, patroned by Delegate Head. This is similar to Senate Bill 1019, patroned by Senator Edwards, which was reported from Education and Health with an amendment 15-0 and was subsequently reported out of Finance and Appropriations with a substitute, and it was the substitute that passed the Senate unanimously. As a result of that substitute, the two bills do differ both technically and substantively, the major difference being that the substitute for Senate Bill 1019 converts it to a Section 1 bill directing the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia to assess and review the authorization of Virginia-based nonprofit organizations to provide schools for adults residing in the Commonwealth, while HB 1726 adds a new section requiring the Department of Education to actually authorize such organizations to provide such schools. I believe that the patron is here.
I think we have that. Delegate Head?
Yes, Madam Chair, and I think Senator Edwards has some viewpoints on this as the situation.
Senator Edwards.
Yeah, that we want to amend the bill to make it the same as my bill, Senate Bill 1019.
So you want to conform?
I want to conform.
No, ma'am, as Senator Edwards' bill is in its form in the House, because it has been amended in the House. I believe that.
And there's also, excuse me, a line amendment to clarify the role of the community colleges. It will make the bills exactly the same. On line 17, after the word credential, add the following. You have it. Quote, awarded through a partnership with a Virginia-based community college or an approved training provider, or dual college credit awarded through a partnership with a Virginia-based community college.
Senator Edwards, I wish you had put that in the form of something we could look at.
I believe we have that.
Okay, we do have.
We have it here somewhere.
Okay. Okay. Could I get a motion on this amendment? It's been moved and properly second that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, Senator Edwards, I think we can read as we listen to what you're trying to tell us.
I'm sorry?
Senator Edwards.
Yes. The two bills, I think, should be the same. And it would not have a fiscal amendment. So, and this would also make it avoid a conference committee. And it should no longer have to go to finance because there's no longer any money involved. Is that right?
No, the Chair of Finance is saying no. That's not correct.
Madam Chair, there never was a fiscal impact on this bill. There was a related budget amendment, but it was not tied directly to this bill, just to the program involved. And I think that's where some of the confusion lay. That the fiscal impact on the bill itself, there is no fiscal impact on this bill. The funding of the establishment of that was there. I think the amendment was put forward to try to help, just so the committee will understand what we're trying to do here. Is the establishment of a school targeted for adults
to earn credentials,
to be able to earn a high school diploma rather than just a GED. And then, in addition to that, earn credentials so that we can help improve their state of life and also the increase the workforce with this. This is something that has been done. Goodwill has piloted this in other areas. This obviously would not be necessarily limited to them, but I think they certainly are the ones that would be most likely in the driver's seat to be able to facilitate this. They've established the location for this in Roanoke already at the Excel Center. This would be the school that would be offered. In this particular situation, these schools provide free childcare for people. The school time is flexible so that the classes can be offered whenever is convenient for the people so they can continue working. They can come in evenings, they can come on weekends and be working with certified teachers and actually can receive then an approved high school diploma that is state certified, and then in addition to that receive workforce credentialings, all at no cost to them. And so all we're doing here with this bill, the reason there's no fiscal impact is the bill just simply allows them to establish this.
Okay, you've
so-
heard,
Madam Chair.
you've heard Senator Newman?
I'm moved that we report and re-refer to finance, and I don't think that's a bad thing. We just need to take it up there, the chair and
I-
the committee.
and I
wants to do
perfectly
it,
well
and
understand.
They're
Yes,
going
sir.
to meet today, I think, and should be fine.
That's fine, yeah.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance with the amendment. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay. Thank you, Delegate Head.
Okay, thank you.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. The bill will be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance with the amendment, as amended. Back now to the Madam Attorney.
Madam Chair, next is HB 2272, patroned by Delegate Cherry. This is similar to SB 1448, patroned by Madam Chair Senator Lucas, which reported from Education and Health with the substitute 15-0. I can explain some of the differences briefly, or if there's an agreement to conform.
No. I want to explain the 20%.
Okay. So I believe that the difference that you are referring to with the 20% is that the Senate bill extends this, the reduced rate tuition charge, as in the Senate bill, it extends it only to non-Virginia students attending Norfolk State University and Virginia State University, while the HB 2272 includes Norfolk State University, Virginia State University, and any public institution of higher education at which the proportion of full-time equivalent undergraduate non-Virginia student enrollment is less than 20%. Madam Chair, was that the difference that you wanted to be explained?
Yes, that's the difference I want to explain. We're good. I want to pass my bill. I want to conform his bill to my bill. Yes. Yes. He's good. He's good. It's been moved and second that the bill be conformed and okay, the first thing we want to do is conform it. So can I get a motion on that first? It's been moved and properly second that the bill be conformed to Senate Bill 1448. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, that is the same. Now can I get a motion on the bill? It's been moved and second that the bill be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay. Thank you.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no zero. Thank you, Delegate Cherry.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 2306, patroned by Delegate Freitas. It is similar to SB 972, patroned by Senator Peake. That bill was passed by indefinitely in this committee on a vote of 8-7. These bills are substantively very much the same and only have some minor technical differences.
Madam Chair.
Motion, Senator Good.
Move to
Senator
pass
Hudson.
by indefinitely as we did with Senator Peake's bill.
It's been moved and second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Next, Madam Chair, is HB 2345, patroned by Delegate Head. It is similar to SB 1255, patroned by Senator Donovan, which passed out of this committee on a vote of 15-0. The bills contain minor technical differences. The only substantive difference is that SB 1255 includes DMAS in the work group created in the second enactment clause.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Donovan.
I agreed to speak to the bill for the patron, and we do need to conform the bill to mine. That the DMAS in his work group was an error, and we really need Virginia Department of Health Professions to be working on this, so we will put my bill, I just agreed with the patron agrees with me, so I move that we substitute my version for this version.
You've heard the motion, you've heard the motion and the second. That the bill be, did you say conformed?
Yes, ma'am.
Conformed. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye. Move to report.
It's been moved and second that the bill as conformed be reported. All in favor of the motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Madam Chair, the bill has also been requested by Finance.
And re-refer to Senate Finance. Thank you. All in favor of that motion to report and re-refer to Finance with a substitute, vote yea or nay on the electronic voting.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The bill will be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance as with the substitute. Madam Attorney.
The last bill in the similar block is HB 2359, patroned by Delegate Ferris. It is similar to SB 1005, patroned by Senator Hashmi. That bill passed out of this committee on a vote of 13 to 0 to 1. These bills are almost identical. The only substantive difference is that the House bill adds infants and toddlers from birth to age 3 who require physical therapy services to fulfill the provisions of their individualized services plan to the list of existing exemptions, for which a referral for physical therapy is never required. This exemption exists in current law for students with disabilities whose IEP provides for physical therapy services.
Madam Chair.
Senator Hashmi.
We've conformed my bill, SB 1005, to the House bill, and I would ask that we pass the House bill as presented to us today.
Okay, you've heard the motion and the second. All in favor of the motion to report as stated by Senator Hashmi, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Ayes 15, no 0. Madam Attorney.
Madam Chair, that concludes the similar and identicals, so I think it's now time for the Health Professions Subcommittee report.
Senator Barker?
Yes, Madam Chair. We had the Health Professions Committee, Subcommittee met, and we had 6 bills, and I'll go through those, and we can act on them at this time. The first one is House Bill 1389. Delegate Anderson is the patron. It deals with the administration of controlled substances for treatment of mental illness or emotional disturbance for minors who are under 18, at the adolescents. The bill was, there was an amendment adopted, but the bill still was defeated, passed by indefinitely with on a 6-3 vote. What the amendments did, what we can offer, I will offer that amendment now. Which what it does is it changes it from the introduced version was requiring the parent to have to consent to any treatment for mental illness or emotional disturbance. And what was the amendment just made it so that it would be providing notice to the parents, but not necessarily first obtaining the consent. And then there was a restriction on that unless such notice would result in risk of harm to the minor. So that is what the bill presents here, and I'll make a motion to pass the bill by indefinitely.
You heard the motion? Second. And the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill will be passed by indefinitely. Senator Barker.
All right. Next one is House Bill 1622. Delegate Wright is the patron. This was, we considered this deals with health regulatory boards and gives the department the delegation of authority to conduct informal fact-finding conferences rather than the just the limitation that is in now. In many instances, it has to be a formal hearing on an issue. We heard a fair amount of discussion and had a fair amount of discussion with this, and we recommended reporting it on a 6-3 vote. And I make that motion.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 13, noes 2.
Ayes 13, no 0, the bill will be reported.
Great. The third bill is House Bill 1795. The Delegate Freitas is the patron. This deals with abortion, a born-alive infant, and the treatment and care of that infant and the penalty. This deals basically with the abortion issue, and we heard a good bit of testimony on that. It was very respectful from both sides, and in the end, we moved to pass the bill by indefinitely, 5-4, and I would make a motion to pass the bill by indefinitely in this situation. We would have to go to finance if we had the bill acted favorably, so.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Barker.
All right, next is House Bill 1952. The patron is Delegate Hodges. I see him standing up now, so we had a good bit of a discussion on the situation, problems experienced in pharmacies right now. There's a good bit of, and so what he has proposed was a bill requiring pharmacies to report the processing of delays and impacting patient safety and centralized or remote processing of prescriptions. We had a lengthy discussion on this one and did look at some optional different language. We did act to recommend passing the bill by indefinitely with a letter to the Board of Pharmacy to try to address these issues on a vote of 7 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. And Delegate Hodges said he would try to see what he could do to work magic between Tuesday and Thursday. So,
is there a substitute? While the substitute is being distributed, Delegate Hodges, if you could just tell us what the difference is.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pharmacy backlogs are a major problem, and we're not talking 6 hours, 12 hours. We're looking at days. And I've worked pharmacies personally that meant 4 days behind. Significant backlog, and it's a tremendous patient safety issue, causing tremendous problems for our patients and their caregivers. What this bill does in the substitute, it leaves the portion dealing with the backlogs regarding central fill, promulgating regulations for central fill processing, which the subcommittee seemed to embrace, and everyone, including the stakeholders, agreed to that portion. In addition, I created a work group in this for independence, change, stakeholders, advocates, and those folks to come together, and the Board of Pharmacy to convene that work group to try to solve this problem and then report back.
Madam Chair,
Senator Newman.
Either to Senator Barker or the patron, is this the same one we saw in subcommittee, or have you, are you still requiring in line 20 and 21 that the board will promulgate the regulation? Is that right?
They are promulgating the regulation, if I may, Madam Chair, they're promulgating the regulations just on the central fill portion, which everyone agreed to and seemed to agree. We've taken out the pharmacy technician portion, but we've added in a work group for the Board of Pharmacy to convene and come together without promulgating regulations, and just to make recommendations.
I asked you to speak before we adopted the substitute, but I think now that you've given us clarification and members has it in their hands.
Second.
The substitute's been moved. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays have saying right. Okay, now.
Madam Chairman,
Senator Donovan.
does this bill still allow for pharmacy technicians to not be licensed in Virginia?
It's taken that portion completely out.
So, Madam Chairman.
Senator Donovan.
So this is directing the Board of Pharmacy to promulgate 2 sets of regulations,
No, ma'am.
just one.
Just one. It only, and if I may, Madam Chair, it's promulgating regulations dealing with central fill pharmacies
Okay.
only. And it's removed the technician portion.
Madam Chairman, could we possibly hear from any of the advocates, thumbs up, thumbs down, if this resolves problems? In my mind, this is a good idea. And this will help with outsourcing without changing any licensure requirements and create a work group to look at that. But it's always hard when you have a full substitute suddenly.
Those in support of the substitute stand. Those opposed stand. Could I get a motion?
Madam Chair, I was on the committee, subcommittee, and there's a serious problem. And this is going to move it forward to help with the work group to come up with some better ideas. So I move that the substitute be adopted.
There's been a motion and a second that the bill be reported. Senator Barker, did you have a substitute motion?
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, you've heard the motion and the second. All in favor of the motion to approve this report with the substitute, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 11, noes 3, one abstention.
Ayes 11, noes 3, 1 abstention. The bill is reported
Thank you, Madam
with
Chair.
the substitute.
All right, the next bill is House Bill 2270 from the patron is Greenhall. This is provision of abortion and labeled as right to informed consent. This bill heard similar testimony to the one that we had from Delegate Freitas, and the vote action that we took was to recommend passing by indefinitely on a vote of 5-3 with 1 abstention.
Is that your motion?
And I move that we pass the bill by indefinitely.
Second. It's been moved and second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of pass by indefinitely, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5, the bill will be passed by indefinitely. Senator Barker.
All right, and the last bill we had was House Bill 2284. The patron is Delegate Wiley. This deals with the Board of Waterworks and Wastewater Works Operators and on-site sewage professionals. This is dealing with the membership of the board that is overseeing that. What it does is that removes the membership of one person, a faculty member from a public institution of higher education, and replaces that with someone whose principal field of teaching is the management or operation of waterworks or wastewater works, and adds to the board's membership of a local representative of the Department of Health. We had some discussion on that, and we learned that there were only 2 higher education institutions, both community college down in Southwest Virginia, down I-81, that have trained people to do these types of things. And in the end, we adopted a motion to recommend reporting on a vote of 8-1, and I move that we that we report the bill.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of the motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 14, noes 1.
Ayes 14, noes 1, the bill will be reported.
All right, and that completes my presentation.
Thank you, Senator Barker, for your hard work in that subcommittee. Bills from Higher Education Subcommittee, Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We only had 2 bills in higher education. The first was House Bill 1779 from Delegate O'Quinn. His bill deals with nuclear education grant fund and program to be established. What it does is it establishes a nuclear education grant fund and program, and it will be administered by SHEV. The purpose of this program is to award grants on a competitive basis to any public institution of higher education or private institution of higher education that seeks to establish or expand a nuclear education program as it is defined in the bill as an instructional program that leads to a degree or credential that specifically supports the nuclear power industry. And on a vote of 5-0, we supported this idea, and I move that that the bill be reported and be referred to finance.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate it electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 14, no 0, 1 abstention.
Ayes 14, no 0, 1 abstention. The bill will be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. Senator Locke.
The second bill was HB 1800 from Delegate Freitas, and his bill was similar to one that we had heard in the Senate from Senator Reeves. It deals with transparency at public institutions of higher education, and it imposed several requirements on governing boards of public institutions relating to transparency. The only difference between what he's presented and what Senator Reeves had is it removed the requirements dealing with DEI, but it still included information required from these institutions of higher education regarding lobbying efforts, the educational foundations associated with these institutions, on the salaries and compensations of executive staff members, the values of contracts outside of individuals or entities that provide lobbying services for the institutions, and other requirements regarding contracts for the employment of the chief executive as well. And on a motion, the motion to report failed on a 2-2 vote, and therefore I move that the House Bill 1800 be passed by indefinitely.
You've heard the explanation and the motion. All in favor of passing the bill by indefinitely, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5, the bill will be passed by indefinitely. Thank you, Senator Locke, for all your great work in that committee, subcommittee. Moving now to bills from public education subcommittee, Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have quite an extensive docket, and I will try to share what we heard in the subcommittees on all of these bills. The first one is HB 1379, patroned by Delegate Anderson. And this bill is concerning the issues of graphic sexual content in our school libraries. It requires that the principal of every public elementary or secondary school maintain an electronic spreadsheet and record and have a catalog of all printed materials that may be deemed unacceptable by some members of the public or parents. We heard extensive testimony in support of the legislation is the Family Foundation, as well as the Pro-Family Women Organization. In opposition were the VEA, some of our public school teachers, as well as our School Librarian Association, as well as the Virginia Library Association. Again, we've heard similar bills previously in this committee, and the issue is that our school librarians are professionals and have the credentials to identify age-appropriate materials, and parents always have the right to work with their child to make sure that they are exposed to the materials that they deem is proper for their own family. This bill, there was a motion to report, but there was no second, and so it failed to be recommended for reporting. I move that we pass by indefinitely.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second on House Bill 1379 that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill will be passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam President. The next bill is HB 1448. This would establish, again, around the issue of public school library materials. It requires the Department of Education to work to identify and maintain a model policy for the selection and removal of books and other audiovisual materials. We heard again from the same groups in opposition to the bill, as well as in support of the bill. As was pointed out in testimony, our school divisions already have the authority to identify materials that may be deemed objectionable. We have 2 county school divisions that have already moved to remove some books. Our local school divisions have this authority, and they are already doing it, as was pointed out. This bill, again, was recommended to pass by indefinitely, and I so move.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill will be passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
The next bill is HB 1461, patroned by Delegate Wiley, and this requires the VDOE to establish regulations governing school conduct and each school board to have a uniform system of discipline for disruptive behavior and the removal of students from a class and provide some of that criteria. We heard extensive testimony on this, most especially in objection to this bill. We heard from Voices for Virginia's Children, the Disability Law Center, the Commonwealth Association for Autism, from some of our county schools, from VKs, from Rise for Youth, LAJC, and our secondary school principals. The concern is that this would unfairly target children from minority communities, also unfairly target students with disability issues, and would again create more harm than provide good for the school community. It was recommended that this bill be passed by indefinitely, and I so move.
You've heard the motion and a second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is HB 1507. This particular bill, patroned by Delegate McGuire, requires each school board and employee to seek to ensure that the fundamental rights of parents in the care and upbringing of their children is recognized and protected. Again, we heard testimony on both sides for this. The issue and the concern from many of our school divisions is that parents are already involved. School divisions seek to have parents involved in many ways, volunteer as well as serve on PTAs and have direct connection to the schools. This bill was recommended to be passed by indefinitely, and I so move.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
The next bill is HB 1556, patroned by Delegate Brewer, and this is with regard to the employment of canine detection teams in public schools, that be permitted. It would permit any school board to employ or hire on a contract basis in any public elementary or secondary school in the local school division a full-time or part-time canine detection team. We heard from both sides on this, and I must say the dogs that came to testify were very cute and adorable. We heard concerns again that some populations of our students may be targeted, and this would be an extensive procedure that would also include tobacco products or nicotine products, and there may be causing more harm than good. School divisions have the authority to work with K-9 teams should they so desire, and so this bill was recommended to be passed by indefinitely, and I so move.
You've heard the motion? And the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5, the bill will be passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
The next bill, Madam Chair, is HB 1803, patroned by Delegate Freitas, and this is with regard to requiring opportunities for parental involvement, that it be required to be provided by each school board to receive advance written or electronic notification of and to opt their children out of a speech, a presentation, or performance. This is a pretty sweeping bill in the sense that there are numerous presentations that often occur in a school or performances, even pep rallies and so forth are ongoing opportunities for student engagement. When students do go on field trips or have other necessary school opportunities, parents do have to file their agreement for those kinds of activities. We heard from Family Foundation that supports the bill. The VEA testified in opposition, pointing out to the procedural issues that would impose quite a bit of burden on teachers as well as schools. There was a motion to report. There was no second, so the bill was not recommended for reporting. I move that it be passed by indefinitely.
You heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. The bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chair, the next bill is HB 1816, patroned by Delegate Avoli. This would require the governor to annually issue a proclamation setting the 7th day of November as Victims of Communism Day and require that such day to be suitably observed in each public elementary and secondary school in the Commonwealth. We had some testimony. The administration came in support of the bill. We had opposition from the VEA pointing out that this would, the instruction around communism, the dangers of communism and so forth are integrated as part of regular curriculum. It was not seen as necessary to have a special day set aside within our school systems for such recognition. This bill was recommended to be passed by indefinitely, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is HB 1893, patroned by Delegate Walker. This requires that prior to the start of each school year, each school board post on its website in a prominent location and in a format that's accessible, a list of each textbook to be used, and the standards of learning and any associated curriculum framework that is available. The testimony that we received indicated that this information is generally available in our school board division, various school boards and divisions, school districts. The issue was raised that this is an unfunded mandate for some of our school divisions in the sense that they would have to create a website and maintain its effective accuracy, and that would not be something that is going to be funded by the state. That was an issue of concern. Again, this information is generally available textbooks, standards of learning are available on our VDOE site, textbooks through their school divisions. So this bill, there was a motion to report, but it received no second, and I move that it be passed by indefinitely.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chair, the next bill is HB 1909, patroned by Delegate Batten, and this would provide that subject to school board or school administration approval, each local school board shall enter into an agreement to establish an opportunity classroom or a classroom in which an alternative curriculum is offered with a requesting party if such party represents more than 20 students and permits each school board to enter into such an agreement. This bill did not receive a wide amount of public testimony, but it was of concern that it creates a secondary school, a second school within a school, and may be problematic in creating these different divisions within the classroom or individual classrooms within a school. There was a motion to report, but it received no second. I move that it pass by indefinitely.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chair, the next bill is HB 1928, patroned by Delegate Durant, and this permits a training program to be developed by the Board of Education for school bus operators, that they offer the training remotely as well as with Spanish language options. This bill was recommended for reporting on a vote of 4-0, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
Madam President, the next bill is HB 1929. This bill passed out of the House on a vote of 99-0. I believe that it was referred to the subcommittee, however, rather than to the block in the full committee because of a concern with federal issues. I did have opportunity to address those concerns after the meeting, and those concerns have been satisfied, and I would move not to, I'm sorry, I would move against the recommendation that came out of the committee. I would move that the bill be reported.
Second, and Madam President,
You heard the motion and the exuberant seconds
Yes.
from members of the committee. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
I did all that work for nothing, Madam.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill is reported. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam President. The next bill is HB 2021, patroned by Delegate Rome, and this requires each school board to ensure that at any back-to-school night event in the local school division that there be information about application and eligibility for free and reduced price meals for students. Even Senator Peake had an enthusiastic aye for this bill, and so.
Enthusiastic odds for most of these.
Yes, you do. So we recommend reporting on a vote of 4-0, and I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0, the bill will be reported. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is HB 2030, patroned by Delegate Ballard. And, sorry, I'm trying to find my notes here. This particular bill requires that any school board that accepts for enrollment students who reside outside of the local school division will establish and make available to the public policies or regulations that include considerations for the eligibility of non-resident student enrollment, application procedures, and so forth. It requires the VDOE to compile and post publicly and prominently on its website a database of each such school board policies or regulations. We heard from the administration in support of the bill. Our school board association testified in opposition in terms of the ways in which school boards already operate with regard to students coming from outside of the non-residential area. This bill was, there was a motion to report, but it received no second. I recommend that, or I move that we pass by indefinitely.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, noes 5, 1 abstention.
Ayes 9, noes 5, 1 abstention. The bill will be passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chair, the next bill is HB 2269, patroned by Delegate Greenhall, and this requires all of our local school divisions as of this upcoming July, if there are available or unspent or unobligated federal ESSER funds, that they be that they be returned to the department. We had considerable discussion around this. The administration supports this legislation. Our superintendents, VEA, school boards, and other agencies, other groups testified that the ESSER funds are already largely encumbered, and that they are that they are allocated for spending, and this would impose quite a rush on the timeline to have to do this by July 15th. There was considerable unease on the part of our school divisions. There was a motion to report, but no second. I move that we pass by indefinitely.
Second.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, noes 6. The bill will be passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chair, this next bill is HB 2341, patroned by Delegate Davis. Is similar to the bill that we had in front of us last year, again attempting to provide opportunities for students who are pursuing the standard diploma and going to our career and technical programs to be granted the designation of the Advanced Studies High School Diploma, but taking out the issue of foreign language. We had considerable testimony on this. In support were some of our industry folks, including the Virginia Transportation Alliance, Virginia Chamber, Association of Contractors, and superintendents as well. In opposition were our foreign language instructors, some of our county schools, and the Africa Business and Research Society. The concern is that the elimination of the requirement of foreign language for an advanced advanced studies high school diploma would dilute the opportunities that students have to receive foreign language instruction or international language instruction. There was the argument made that our students who are working in CTE programs or in manufacturing or industry should also have the opportunity to engage in international languages because their careers and their different pathways will expose them to a wide variety of individuals who speak other languages, and also helps them to understand cultural context. There was a motion to report, no second. I move that the bill pass by indefinitely.
It's been moved in second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chair, the next bill is HB 2358, patroned by Delegate Durant, and this would permit any local law enforcement agency to employ in any public elementary or secondary school a school protection officer as defined in the bill as a retired law enforcement officer hired by local law enforcement agencies on a part-time basis. We heard considerable testimony and certainly had some strong discussion on the fact that we have students oftentimes in crisis, students that are facing emotional and behavioral issues. Teachers are under stress. So we heard from Stafford County as well as some of our school boards and from the sheriff's office in support of the legislation. We heard from other groups such as LAJC the concern that, again, this would create issues for students with disabilities and students of minority backgrounds and add to the school-to-prison pipeline. Those are the concerns that we have been trying to address through this particular committee. The argument was made that increasing support staff in our schools, increasing mental health counselors, reducing class sizes is a better alternative rather than increasing a law enforcement presence in our school divisions. This bill, and I'm sorry, the note seems to be, I'm sorry, here it is. There was a motion to report, but no second. I recommend that it be passed by indefinitely.
You heard the motion and the second? You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill is passed by indefinitely. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam President. The next bill is HB 2405, patroned by Delegate Ware, and this would require the Board of Education to establish within the high school graduation requirements that each high school student will take and correctly answer at least 70% of the questions on a test composed of at least 50, but not more than 60 questions from the U.S. naturalization test in order to graduate from high school. We heard a testimony from folks who certainly agreed with the idea that our high school students should have better engagement and more in-depth understanding of U.S. government, state government, as well as a broader understanding of civics. We have heard from the Virginia Association of School Superintendents that this would add yet one more assessment to the many tests that students are already taking. We heard arguments as well that this necessary instruction should actually be part of the curriculum. It should be integrated into our social studies as well as civics courses, and we would certainly urge our school divisions to do that, VDOE to make sure that such instruction is there. There was a motion to report, but it failed, and I recommend that it be passed by indefinitely.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, no 6.
Ayes 9, no 6, the bill will be passed by indefinitely.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you. I know that Senator Hashmi is going to do House Bill 2432 next. Delegate LaRocque is here. He has a substitute he would like to propose, so if you would let him talk.
Could we have the substitute distributed? We don't have a substitute.
No substitute.
Madam Chair, I believe the substitute was acted on in committee.
Okay, then it's in the package. Right. Could I get a motion on the substitute? It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor, say aye. Delegate LaRock? Okay, if we did it in substitute, in the committee. Say again?
It's just the same substitute.
It is. Yes, it is.
It's oh, so you've already acted on this substitute?
Yes, Madam Chair.
I'll give you 1 minute to explain since you're standing
Thank you,
there.
Madam Chair. It's very simple. We're dealing with a situation which could potentially involve a school bringing parents into a situation whereby a child was actively transitioning in the school. We're asking that, and maybe speaking more specifically to the substitute, reacting to input that we had from others after the first hearings, we wanted to make it very clear that situations where a student perhaps had a conversation whereby they would confide in some member of the school personnel that they were contemplating a transition or maybe how they would speak to their parents about a transition, that we would allow that situation, certainly, to take place in confidence. But if I may take you to 17, which is where the change occurred, I'll read the B, couple short sentences. Each public elementary and secondary school principal or his designee shall, as soon as practicable, inform at least one parent or minor of a minor student enrolled in such a school if the minor, and I think this is probably the really important active portion of the change, if the minor requests that any individual who's employed in the school participate in the transition of such minor to a sex or gender different from the minor's biological sex in the school, including use of pronouns that are inconsistent with the minor's biological sex. So we're trying to create that a clear delineation of when the parents would optimally be included in this, what's going on in the school, once the child requests. And that's the difference.
Well, thank you, Delegate LaRock, and I did not know that this substitute had already been considered as part of the testimony in the subcommittee. Because typically what we do is once they've gone through the subcommittee and any substitutes that are heard there, we don't normally air those again here. So I've given you an opportunity to explain to the committee.
I thought you just were treating me specially for some other reason.
Okay.
It's clear.
So
Yes.
I'm back now to Senator Hashmi to renew your motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to provide some further context, this bill received considerable hearing, and we certainly thank the family that came to present in support of the legislation along with their attorneys. In opposition to the legislation, we heard from ACLU, from Equality Virginia, from another parent of a transgender child who opposed this bill. We heard from VEA, with the Sexual and Domestic Violence Alliance, and from LAJC. The concern is that this would be a forced outing of a child, and sometimes there are not homes or stable families in which a child who is a part of the LGBTQ community or is transgender would have an opportunity to speak to an adult. We heard testimony that the large number of students with housing insecure or children with housing insecurity or who are homeless are from the trans community or from LGBTQ community, and that is largely because of rejection from their family or from their faith communities. This bill was deemed harmful by many who spoke because it takes away the opportunity for vulnerable children to receive counseling as they might necessarily need to do within a school environment. This bill was, there was a motion to report, there was no second, and I move that we pass by indefinitely.
Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
If I might speak briefly to the motion, which I'm going to support, but I want to respectfully respond to Delegate LaRocque and the other witnesses are here. And I believe strongly in parental involvement, and I do agree that you want to keep parents up to speed. What concerned me about this bill, and I've read it through every iteration, I appreciate the patron reaching out to me.
I did too.
It almost resembles a mandatory reporting bill, which is what we typically do when there's been some type of crime committed against a child or something of that nature. And my hesitation is, and I've been a parent of multiple teenagers, 4, is that if a teenager has a conversation with a teacher or with a coach or with a guidance counselor, that somehow we're going to put them on blast. Then maybe, you know, they're having a conversation that they think is confidential. It should be confidential. And again, if it's a surgical procedure, then that may be different. And they'd have to get the parents' consent anyway if it's a surgical procedure. But I feel like this bill, rather than solving the issue, would exacerbate the issue. And the issue is parents and talking to their children, children talking to their parents, and children having the confidence maybe to speak to a teacher and not have to worry about getting put on blast. And so, again, I appreciate the conversation we have. It's an important conversation. These are new issues than when I was in high school in 1985. But I just can't support this bill, and again, I respectfully will support that motion.
Perhaps the chairman, 10 seconds in response, if I may.
Typically, that's not what we do, since it's already been heard in the subcommittee. And I'm very sympathetic as well. I read that entire case file last night. And some of the things that happened to Sage were just unimaginable. But we have to deal with the process that we have established here in this committee. And there's a motion, it's already been heard, so we've got to move forward with the motion. Senator Hashmi?
I renew the motion that this bill be passed by indefinitely.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 9, noes 6.
Ayes 9, no 6. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next bill is HB 2490, and this is patroned by Delegate Davis, and this is with regard to Division Laboratory School. It provides a framework for the application for an establishment of a Division Laboratory School within our, as a public, non-religious, or non-home-based alternative school located within a local school division. And this exempts the division laboratory schools from certain laws that govern other public schools in the Commonwealth and permits such schools to operate free from specified school division policies and state regulations. The delegate did approach me this morning, and I believe he has some amendments that he would like to share with the committee.
Amendments are being distributed. It's been moved and second that the amendment be agreed to. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Delegate Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The amendments in front of you restores the holy trinity of support for this bill. The VEA, the Virginia Education Association, the School Board Association, and the Superintendent's Association now all endorse this bill. What this amendment does is it addresses the VEA's concerns that they had in subcommittee yesterday. The first section basically says that these lab schools have to adhere to every federal, but it did not read state law. Now it does say state laws in Virginia, just like every other public school has to adhere to as well. Secondly, what it does is inserts a new item at the end that ensures that every licensed personnel, including our teachers, have the same rights, benefits, and professional rights, basically, as all others in our local school divisions. Essentially, Madam Chair, this gives a level playing field to all of our public schools. If you can imagine that every public school has a community of different needs that they serve, And this allows our superintendents to look at the public schools, if they so desire, classify them as division lab schools, give our teachers and administrators more flexibility in those classrooms than what they have today, and then be able to draw down some of that $100 million that is up there in that lab school fund for these schools as well, truly allowing us to have community schools with additional resources than what they have today, Madam Chair.
You heard that explanation? Senator Hashmi?
Did we adopt those amendments?
Yes.
Well, we heard testimony in support of the legislation from our school board association, from superintendents. The VEA at time of committee meeting indicated that they were originally in support, but then they had withdrawn support because of concerns. It's my understanding that the delegate worked with VEA on these particular amendments. I would still point to some concerns that remain. And Delegate, maybe you can share this with, I understand VEA had a recommendation that removing the oversight of the standards of quality as well as standards of learning and standards of accreditation, all of those need to stay in the legislation. But it's my understanding you have deleted with the exception of, and.
Well, and if I can address that, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
if you could just.
There was a set of items, I believe it was Section D, that the VEA addressed yesterday. And I started to go item by item with them. And the first item that they were looking to put back said that Virginia shall support the schools with a quality school, a resource necessary for a quality school outcome. And basically, as we know, in these lab schools, the money actually doesn't go to the school, unlike a traditional public school, but it goes to the public school system, which then, per agreement, would then fund the lab school in this environment. So that's why that one's exempted. The other exemption is subsection C of the code, and subsection C says that the school board shall create the curriculum, but the great thing about this lab school scenario is that the lab school, the division lab school set up by the superintendent, can create a unique curriculum for the needs of those students, in some cases for specific scenarios like partnering with Newport News Shipbuilding, like we're looking at now. We are working, if there is anything that exempts any standards of quality or SOLs, we will be happy to put that in, but the reason why the VEA is no longer pushing that requirement is we went section by section, and we realized that that actually has to do with more the process of how this rolls than any exemptions that a local school would not have.
Thank you, Delegate. Madam Chair, I would just stress that those are points of serious concern for me if we are going to be taking out requirements for standards of quality and learning and our accreditation processes as well. Those remain serious concerns. There's also the concern of private entities, private institutions being allowed to engage in the laboratory partnership. That is a concern, and there's no specification that it be Virginia colleges and universities that be a part of the process. We did hear testimony on this issue. There was a motion to recommend reporting but received no second. Madam Chair, I would move that we pass by indefinitely.
You've heard. Substitute motion? You've heard the substitute motion that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion?
It would have to go to finance, Madam Chair,
Yes.
if it is.
Okay, the motion is to report and re-refer with amendment to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please vote electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 6, noes 8, 1 abstention.
Ayes 6, noes 8, 1 abstention. The bill is not reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go back to the original motion, and that is that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 8, noes 6, 1 abstention.
Ayes 8, noes 6, 1 abstention. The bill is passed by indefinitely.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Hashmi, you have
Thank you,
another
Madam
bill?
Chair. We've reached our last bill from this subcommittee, and that is HB 2495, patroned by Delegate Durant. This would establish a middle school mathematics innovation zone program that would be administered by VDOE, and with the purpose of assisting our school divisions in implementing competency-based mathematics education and evidence-based mathematics education through learning models in grades 6, 7, and 8. As we know, there is a severe need to improve our student outcomes in mathematics. This model is actually something that replicates what's happening in community colleges. The competency-based mathematics for different mathematics tracks has been working effectively. They're allowing students to engage in smaller topics, demonstrate their proficiency, and then be able to move on. So this is an effective program. The committee recommended for reporting on a vote of 4-0, and I so move. And it would be re-referred to finance.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. All in favor of that motion, please designate electronically, yea or nay.
Ayes 15, noes 0.
Ayes 15, noes 0. The last bill of this year in this committee. But it's reported and re-referred to Senate Finance. And before we adjourn, I just want to thank especially the members of the subcommittee chairs, because you all have really labored to get or plow through these bills, and there's been quite a number of them. And I want to thank the entire committee for the time that you've put into making sure that this process ran as smoothly as possible. And so with that, I just thank all of you so very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And with that, the committee shall rise.